Hello and welcome to Museum FAQ. I'm Paul Orselli, President and Chief Instigator at POW, Paul Orselli Workshop. And today we'll be talking about one of my favorite topics. What are some tips for making exhibit prototypes? I think prototyping is one of the most important parts of the exhibit development process. So what are exhibit prototypes? Well, exhibit prototypes are usually cheap and quick ways to test in a full-scale way ideas, graphics, components, even how high or how low a piece of exhibit furniture could be, to test those things out in a cheap and quick way before you finalize the exhibition. And I always like to think that there is a patron saint in quotes, of museum exhibit prototyping. And that patron saint is Elvis. Not so much for his musical or pop culture abilities, but conveniently, Elvis's name, the 5 letters of his first name, break down into different aspects or tips that I always think about when I'm prototyping. So let's go through the 5 letters of Elvis's name. We'll march along with prototyping and see what those tips are. E, the first letter, is for everyday materials. I think it's really important to use simple everyday materials, things you have around the shop or your museum. Tape, cardboard, foam core, string, simple things like that. Because if you try out ideas with simple materials and they don't work out, you're more likely to give those bad ideas up. If you order a specialty material like a piece of titanium that took you several weeks to obtain and that costs a lot of money, you're usually less likely to give up the bad ideas attached to those expensive or dear materials. So I always like to start with everyday materials, and that's E, the first letter in Elvis's name. Next is L. L stands for looseness. Looseness, you want to keep things loose at the beginning. Try and keep track of what people are talking about or what unexpected behaviors people might show when they're trying out one of your exhibit components or you're testing things with visitors. Sometimes an idea will come up that you didn't even think about, as long as you stay loose. V is one of my favorite words in the English language, which is vermicious. Vermicious is a word that comes from the Latin vermis, means worms. And I always like to think of vermicious topics or vermicious possibilities in exhibits. It's almost like a great big ball of earthworms squirming around. They don't fit neatly into a box. They're neither art nor science nor history. They sort of cross boundaries. So when you're thinking about prototyping and thinking about topics for your exhibits, be vermicious. I, the I in Elvis's name, stands for iterative or iterate. Iterate just means trying things over and over again. There's no such thing as a one-try prototype. If you try a prototype and then you feel like your exhibit idea is perfect, I don't think you're really pushing things hard enough. You should iterate. You should try out a prototype, test things with visitors, think about what they did, think about what they said, and then try and improve or tweak your prototype so that you iterate and get closer to the final product. Last but not least is S, the last letter in Elvis's name. S is for sharing. You should really concentrate on sharing your ideas within your organization, but also with peers. It's a great idea to take your learnings. I think that's one of the great things about the museum business, the sharing aspect of the museum community. So that's Elvis. And that's my tips for prototyping today in today's museum FAQ program. If you'd like me to answer your own museum FAQ, email me at paul@orselli.net. And if you want to find out more about Paul Orselli Workshop, click on over to our website, www.orselli.net. I hope you've enjoyed today's museum FAQ, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.